Hello malt mates, malt explorers and the single malt curious. Welcome to the Bothy. It's somewhere in the Irish Sea and I am your host in this video, and my name's Ralphie, and I've been drinking whiskey on a regular basis for over 30 years, and when it comes to opinions about whiskey, you can't beat experience. So I'm not an expert, but I am very experienced, and I am going to introduce to you 3 great single malts to begin your Scotch whisky journey. 3 great single malts to start with for beginners. This is where you wet your palate and see if you're going to invest a bit more of your hard-earned cash into buying some of these tasty single malts. Now, I start by asking you, why should you buy single malt Scotch whisky? Why bother? Well, the answer is simple. Because it will take you on a sensory journey of smell and taste, which is unparalleled. As time goes on and you develop your palate and you develop more experience using your nose and using your taste, you will come across the most extraordinary, complex and amazing arrays of smells and tastes that only alcoholic beverages can provide. Way ahead of foodstuffs, not even way ahead of wines, and way ahead of some other spirits. You cannot beat it when it comes to intensity of complexity of smell and taste. Whiskey tops the list. And I have 3 whiskies here, currently undercover. I'm going to introduce them now, and I'm going to explain why I recommend them to you to start with at the beginning of your whisky journey. None of them are blends. I'm not recommending any blended Scotch whisky to you for a simple, very simple reason. I don't want to put you off too soon. Many blended Scotch whiskies, frankly, in comparison to single malts, are not that good because they are weighed heavily in favour of column still, mixed mash bill, corn-based spirit, which is used as filler, to pad out and to sanitise single malts in a mixture called blended Scotch. There you go. It's just an opinion. The first of our whiskies, and by the way, I've recently reviewed all these, so you can get the whole review if you're interested by just having a flick through my channel. My first recommendation is Glenfiddich 12-year-old. The reason I'm recommending Glenfiddich, which I've reviewed in Ralphie Review 956, so just put a wee search in there, Ralphie.com 956, and it will take you to this full review. It's the absolute baseline single malt. Mild, cereal notes, not a lot of anything, but just enough of everything to get you started as a single malt drinker without frightening and overloading and willfully confusing your sense of smell and sense of taste. It's a great whisky to start with because it's also widely available and it's rarely overpriced, of course, depending where you are in the world. So heaven help you if you're in Norway or you're in Canada or even Iceland, you're going to struggle. But you know the lie of your own land. My second recommendation is a whisky that personally I struggle with, Glenmorangie. And it's not just the orangey colour that it's now been repackaged at, which frankly looks like crap. It's deliberately been put into cartoon colours just to flash bright on shelves of shops to attract you for the most superficial of reasons. Exactly the same thing as they do with the wine industry when you see the brightly coloured labels on the supermarket shelf that suggest to you that in fact, with a bit of experience, the quality of what's inside the bottle is inferior. I wouldn't describe this as inferior. I would describe this as sanitised, basic and sweet. Particularly if you're in the United States and you have been groomed and brought up on overly sweet stuff. You know, processed sugar, the stuff that causes cancer. You know the stuff. You've met it many, many times, I'm sure. And if you've got a sweet tooth, you want to start perhaps with a sweet whiskey so as it's not too harsh in the palate. This is the whiskey you would go for. And then you might graduate to the Lasanta or the Port Wood Matured. They're also reasonably competent whiskies, better than this. But the older versions of Glenmorangie can be a real mixed bag. But I'm digressing slightly. I'll go back to this one. See when you see a wee badge in the label that says it's won an award in a competition? Don't take that seriously. It really depends which competition it is and whether that competition actually has any sort of reputation in being honest and having integrity towards customers. So just be advised. I reviewed this in Ralphie Review 955, so just put in your search box ralphie.com 955, you will find this review. It doesn't get as good a mark as this one, but neither of these two gets as good a mark, a review mark, as my next beginner's choice, which I have to warn you is going to be a lot more challenging on your palate. It is a Knock 12-year-old. This is more citrusy, it's sharper, it's nippier, it's a little bit more of a shock to the senses for a very simple reason. Compared to these two whiskies, this one's got more flavour. That's the bottom line. And that is why in my review 954, so just put ralphie.com 954, will take you to this review of a Knock 12-year-old. Again, a widely available, very affordable, reasonably priced single malt whiskey, which frankly is the same price or even a better price than many blends out there. And you're getting a far better product. So as I say, don't bother with blends. Some of them are good, but not enough. Not for the sipper. If you're adding ice or Coca-Cola, fair enough, but at this stage, these recommendations are for sipping the whiskey to get the actual real flavour out of them. So 3 good options. All of them are chill filtered, which means they've had some of the edginess taken out of them through a filtration process to make them nice and clear and sanitised for you. Nice sanitary single malts. And they're also got a drop of E150A colourant, which is scorched industrial sugar, which they add to make them look darker. To the credit of Glenfiddich, they use a green bottle because they use far, far less, if any, E150 caramel colourant in their product. That is definitely a plus point. But there's my 3 recommendations. None of them are going to knock your socks off with too much flavour all at once. It's better to start with something safe, something sanitised, something tame. And that's what you have here, 3 tame whiskies. Just to let your sense of smell and sense of taste get their bearings. Because one of the worst things you can do if you're getting started in malt whiskey is to go out and buy a bottle of Laphroaig or Edradour or an independent cask strength bottling of anything, because the flavour will just overwhelm you completely and will leave you confused and possibly disappointed and put you off buying whiskey. You see, I've got experience, I'm sharing it with you, so's you know, so's you're informed. And if you've enjoyed this and you are going to be continuing your whiskey journey, mind your pennies, mind your cents, mind your euros. Don't overpay. Don't follow the fashion. Don't think that whatever price a whiskey producer expects you to pay for the product, that it's actually worth it. gain the knowledge. Get active online, do your homework, and it means that when you go out and buy whiskey, you're going to have a lot fewer incidences where you risk serious disappointment in paying a lot of money for a bottle which just doesn't deliver to you what it should. They do exist out there, so you have been forewarned. If you've enjoyed this, why don't you subscribe to my channel? Just click the like button, leave a wee comment, and I look forward to seeing you again for some other reviews, because coming into the early months of 2023, I'm going to be reviewing a series of really good whiskies, not just from Scotland but from other countries. And so it's my job, it's my hobby, it's the reason I'm here on YouTube in the bothy telling you all about it. It's what I do. Finally, I also have a Patreon channel called Ralphie, R-A-L-F-Y, and if you want additional extra information and slightly more controversial opinions and content, feel free to subscribe, and all you have to do is just buy Ralphie a dram. So there's no fixed pricing structure. It's one of these good value Patreon channels. Anyway, enough said. I'm done and dusted. Just to conclude, I've just recently reviewed all three of these whiskies to help you, the beginner, because this video is really for the beginner, to get your bearings, give you points of reference, and I would conclude by saying good luck with your journey, and I hope you have as many adventures in smell and taste that I have been lucky enough and very fortunate enough to enjoy myself over the last 30 odd years. Cheers now.